Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live stream session on post-secondary supports for Indigenous, Black, racialized, and 2S and LGBTQ plus students. My name is Lisa Galley. I'm an instructional program leader supporting co-op, guidance, and student success with the School Programs Department in the Halton District School Board, and really excited to be here tonight with my colleagues from the Human Rights Inclusive Education team, as well as Indigenous Rights and Education. We also have special guests joining us from McMaster University, as well as Sheridan. No doubt this is going to be a very informative session, and we really thank all of our students and families for joining us this evening. This is the second year of our live stream series. Last year, we had 5 fantastic partners who came to talk about a variety of different post-secondary exploration topics. And again, looking forward to a great season this year in 25-26. And tonight's session kicks off that series. So again, thank you for being here. As we always do in the Halton District School Board, we'll begin with our land acknowledgement. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated is on the ancestral, treaty, and tidal lands of the Anishinaabeg Ojibwe Michizageek Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Michizageek territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. All of the work that we do is grounded and guided by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, calls to action, and supporting documents, as well as the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. When we root our work in Indigenous rights alongside anti-colonial practices and pedagogies, we reduce harms for Indigenous students and each student in our system. The TRC and UNDRIP calls upon education to improve school experiences and to interrupt further harms toward Indigenous children and their families. This intention is embedded in the policy, and the policy is directly in response to TRC and UNDRIP. The HDSB Indigenous Education Policy was designed in part to build knowledge and understanding and support anti-colonial efforts across the Halton District School Board. These efforts span classroom practices and pedagogies, how we support students and families, reducing harm, as well as a system shift in analysis of structures and processes that are not currently in alignment with upholding Indigenous rights and human rights. Again, we thank you so much for joining us this evening. We wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what the session ahead has to offer. We'll start with some introductions as each of our speakers is presenting. They will tell you a little bit more about who they are and their role. And that will include representatives from both our Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Education team, as well as our Indigenous Rights and Education team at the Halton District School Board. We'll highlight, again, various opportunities for students around post-secondary exploration and support. And I'll also have an opportunity to talk more about skilled trades opportunities, pathways, and supports. Then we're excited to be able to pass it over to our representatives from McMaster University and Sheridan, who will speak more specifically around supports for Indigenous students in post-secondary. And we'll also highlight financial opportunities and supports as well. So lots to share over the next hour. We wanted to remind you that if you have questions over the course of the live stream, previously in our messaging, we did provide the link to a question form, and thanks to those that have submitted questions already. You'll find that link again at bit.ly/des3supports for December 3rd. And we've also included a QR code here. You can certainly take a picture of that with your phone, and that will link you to the form as well. I'll be monitoring questions over the course of the live stream, and we've left some time at the end to be able to answer as many as possible. We also wanted to remind you that after the live stream, a recording will be posted on the Transition to Post-Secondary page on hdsb.ca, so that should you miss part of it or want to share it with others, you'll be able to do that. And please know that when viewing the recording, viewers can select a preferred language using the closed captioning feature. When it comes to student pathway planning, which is really what our live stream series is all about, we recognize that pathway planning takes place through a student's educational career, through the experiences they have, the courses they take, the extracurriculars they pursue, volunteer opportunities they try, and other important life events. Students start to form an understanding of who they are and what they want for their future. And specifically, you'll see this graphic from Creating Pathways to Success outlines 4 key questions that students ask of themselves in that process. Who am I? What are my opportunities? Who do I want to become? And what is my plan for achieving my goals? Every school provides targeted opportunities for every student to be able to answer these questions and to begin to plan for their first post-secondary destination. There are a variety of ways in which students are able to consider these questions through their school experience. And as I said, that includes everything from the courses they take, the various career planning activities that are offered by the school and the board. That can include post-secondary exploration events, guest speakers, field trips, and so on. When they participate in specialized programs in our board, and we've listed a sampling of the variety of programs offered in the Halton District School Board, certainly through their extracurricular and community activities, and also by building what we call their individual pathways plan, or IPP, over the course of their school career. We recognize that that is done in consultation with a variety of caring adults in their schools. That includes classroom educators, service side educators like guidance counselors, and absolutely central supporting staff, including some of our representatives that are here tonight. And all of that is done in consultation and collaboration with, of course, the student and family. So it really is a collaborative effort. And setting the stage as I have, I'm now happy to pass it over to Jillian, who's going to introduce herself and start to share a little bit more about the resources and supports that we're here to talk about tonight. Jillian?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian Waspensdorf. I am an instructional program leader in the Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Education Department at the Halton District School Board. Really excited to be here tonight to speak about supports within the board for racialized and 2S and LGBTQ+ students, as well as some initiatives and amazing work that's being done at post-secondary institutions that we really want to highlight tonight. So I want to highlight first some HDSB supports within our department that are happening in schools. The first being the graduation coach program for Black students. While this program does not run out of every high school yet, the ministry has piloted this project at Burlington Central, Aldershot, MMR, Hayden, White Oaks, TA Blakelock, Milton District, and Craig Kielburger. If there are any students watching tonight, they've probably met the grad coach. They have a wonderful presence in our schools. The grad coaches work in partnership with guidance departments, student success, parents and guardians, and administrators as they support students through the transition to post-secondary and also help them stay on track for graduation. And they also coordinate identity affirming post-secondary opportunities and career experiences such as scholarships or specialized programs. So if you have access to a grad coach in your school and you haven't taken advantage yet, I would highly urge you to do so, just to make sure that you're seeking out every opportunity that you possibly can. HDSB secondary schools also host affinity groups for a wide range of student backgrounds. For example, gender and sexuality alliances, South Asian student associations, Muslim student associations, just to name a few. That is not an exhaustive list by any means. Teacher leads for these associations and organizations and peer mentors alongside guidance teachers can definitely connect you with relevant resources as you move through your transition into post-secondary. And I'll pass it over to Tracy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy O'Connell, and I'm the Instructional Program Leader for Student Achievement in the Indigenous Rights and Education Department. Really happy to be here tonight. This is our first time doing something like this. I'm so really excited about that. We're going to be presenting you with a lot of information, perhaps an overload. And don't worry, because if you need help remembering it, you can always contact us. So the Indigenous Rights and Education Department supports students through their educational journey from kindergarten when they start school to grade 12. And we also want to do our best to support them as they take their next steps as well. So while they are within the Halton District School Board, we provide connections to supports for pathways planning. We help and we work as a team with guidance counselors, special education teachers, student success teachers to help support student and family goals. We don't replace those professionals within the schools because we want the best for our students, and our guidance counselors have a wealth of knowledge that we don't replace, but we can supplement or add to. We also have connections with a variety of people and the expertise in our central departments that will work with our students to help them meet their goals. We can also provide a connection to accessibility departments and Indigenous services departments in post-secondary institutions. So when students have received special education supports in HDSB, they are most often entitled to supports in post-secondary as well. And we can offer help with that, with bridging that transition by connecting accessibility services and the Indigenous services departments to see what kinds of supports that we can offer for you or your child. We offer assistance applying to scholarships and bursaries. We can provide some help with finding and writing applications if that's needed. There's a lot out there. Some are for people with status and some are not, but that can feel very overwhelming. We provide assistance working through applications for First Nations band funding, assistance with applications to Métis Nation of Ontario or the MNO. Within our schools, or within some of our schools, we offer groups for Indigenous students. We also hosted the APSIP program last week, which is when our colleges and universities that can attend come and they provide information for Indigenous students. And we also provide assistance with applications to the Inuit Child First Initiative. So this isn't a comprehensive list of things, but these are some of the things that we offer. But you determine if they're right for you, and there's no obligation at all to take us up on the offer, although selfishly working with students on their next steps is one of my favorite things to do. I know how exciting and stressful that it can be. I have two who have graduated from high school, and sometimes it's nice to have someone else on the team, especially outside of your home. If there are things that you're wondering about, if we can help with, don't hesitate to reach out and know that there are others who are in your corner. We do our best to make sure that students have what they need in order to meet their goals. I think we're on to post-secondary initiatives, Lisa.
Yes. So as we move into some of the post-secondary initiatives that we are seeing in Ontario universities and colleges and other post-secondary institutions, I wanted to just do a little bit of contextualizing and framing to demonstrate that there is incredible academic work being done at these institutions to demonstrate that there is an evidence-based need for community and affinity among BIPOC groups at the post-secondary level. And just one example is the research that the Jean Augustine Chair in Education, Community and Diaspora is doing at York University. This is held by Dr. Carl James in the Faculty of Education. His research is seeking to foster an understanding of the diverse cultural and educational needs of students, to facilitate leadership on matters of access, equity, inclusivity, and social justice, to strengthen university community partnerships and engagement, and to build educational and social capacity among students, junior scholars, and community members. There is a very, clear evidence that education outcomes are linked to employment, housing, health, and social justice, overall quality of life measures, and this amazing work that's being done at these post-secondary institutions is really driving some great work forward. So we're excited to share a little bit, just a snapshot of what's happening at the on the ground at these institutions. So we can go to the next slide. So just as a couple of examples of post-secondary affinity initiatives that we're seeing at universities and colleges across the province, we're seeing a lot of prospective student events for BIPOC and 2S and LGBTQ+ applicants. Keep an eye out for those throughout the year, or if you're applying next year as you go to your fall campus days or fall tours, keep an eye out for those specific events. We have affinity spaces, events and mixers, peer mentorship, alumni mentorship, support circles, student advisory committees, student associations and clubs, as well as specific graduation celebrations for these affinity groups. So I've just highlighted a few of them on the slide here. But again, this is just a very small list of all of the amazing opportunities there are to seek community and affinity with other peers in the post-secondary context. Next slide.
These are examples of some post-secondary spaces for Indigenous students. And this is just a very small sampling of some of the things that are happening within those post-secondary places. So this just gives you a small taste of what is available. They're in no way to be considered a complete list of all the institutions. There's lots of other amazing spaces as well, and they serve different purposes. Some are related to academic counseling and academic supports, but they also offer things like mental health, student services, and some offer supports related to culture as well.
I also wanted to highlight a couple of events that come up, one with Rotman Commerce, and then the other with Brock University. The Black Student Leadership Conference is actually taking place on February 12th, 2026, and any age of secondary student who is Black identifying is welcome to apply and register. If you have an interest in applying to the University of Toronto as a Black student, this is a wonderful opportunity to be able to go to campus on February 12th, gain an introduction to the fields of finance and business problem solving with seminars and competitions. I know that there's prizes involved, so it's a great opportunity. If you just look up Black Student Leadership Conference, University of Toronto, it'll come up, and that's a great opportunity. And the Future Black Leaders Conference at Brock University, their 2026 dates are still to be announced, but that is run by their Black Student Success Center and focuses on affluence, unity, power, and abundance, and has a wonderful turnout every year. So these are just things to keep an eye out for. And again, there's so many more opportunities that are out there, but I wanted to highlight these two that are coming up in 2026.
So these are just some examples of services that are available for Indigenous students after high school. And again, the list is far from comprehensive. We can work with students in schools to help a student narrow down a pathway and the types of programs based on location, size of school they want to attend, or where they want to work. But just to give you some idea of the types of programs that are out there, Six Nations Polytechnique has extensive partnerships with many university and college partners. Partnerships enable students to complete their degree, their diploma, certificate, and even, not a degree, but they can complete their first year of a Bachelor of Arts degree before transferring to a partner institution. And some people might be asking, like, why is that important? And we find that some students aren't ready to make the transition to a large institution, a large university, and they need a bit of a gap and a more supportive, smaller place. And Six Nations Polytechnic allows for that, while still getting the credits needed for that first year of a degree program. So that certainly makes it unique. And then we have the Inspire Rivers to Success program, which is a mentorship program from high school to career. It offers quality one-to-one mentorship from a respected professional, opportunities to connect with other students who are in the same place or in the same journey, ongoing support from facilitators, including elders, knowledge keepers, and educators, online resources that are customized to help you succeed, and really important, practice at essential skills. So job hunting advice, interview tips, habits to help with finances, and guidance with career or life balance. U of T, University of Toronto, offers an Indigenous tuition grant that covers the cost of tuition in eligible undergraduate and graduate programs for students from 9 identified First Nations communities. And they also have First Nations House, which has academic, cultural, wellness, accessibility supports, as well as a learning strategist. Ontario colleges, for applicants to college, this website offers links to different resources and links to Indigenous services within the colleges, which is really helpful because you go to one particular page and it lists all of the colleges with all of the links to the Indigenous services office, so you can compare what different schools have available. And you can get to it through ontariocolleges.ca. You go to application and fees, and underneath that tab is resources for Indigenous applicants. There's university entrance programs that help transition students as well. So some examples would be Carleton University, Trent, Lakehead, Nipissing, where students take some first-year credit courses at the university, but they're also receiving academic advising and transition support. And then there's Indigenous campus support centers that also offer academic advising, financial aid assistance, cultural support, and they also may be able to help with housing and mental health supports as well. I'm not mentioning anything about McMaster or Sheridan right now because they're going to explain everything that's available at their schools, but you can see that there are a tremendous number of services, and that's just a small taste of what's available. Some examples of workplace transition supports for Indigenous students. The MNO, or Métis Nation of Ontario, offers the Métis Youth Program, which includes an internship program for skill enhancement and work experience, and also a community service program to build life and work skills. We have the Indigenous Sport and Wellness Ontario organization that provides opportunities like the Bridge program that equip Indigenous youth with skills and hands-on experiences in the fields of technology and health. And then we have ONECA, or the Ontario Native Education Counseling Association, that offers resources and programs to assist with the school to work transition. And then for those people who are interested in trades and apprenticeship support, and I'm just going to highlight a few things because we'll be talking more about this later, but the Ontario government offers programs to help Indigenous students get started in the trades, including paid on-the-job training and financial support for training and tools. The Northern Ontario Training Program, projects like the one with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, provides virtual and in-person skilled trades training in areas like electrical work and welding. And then we have GREAT, which is an Indigenous nonprofit organization providing employment and training support. It is specific to Six Nations band members, but it is regardless of where they're actually living. And if you're interested and that applies to you, you can search Great SN and the organization will come up.
Great. Thank you so much, Tracy. And that's a great segue into some of the information sharing that I wanted to do about apprenticeship pathways for students in our board. You may have heard of the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program before. It's really a way for students to be able to kickstart their apprenticeship training while they're in high school and still earning high school credits. And it allows them to take a cluster of courses in a particular trade of interest, as well as co-op. And depending on the stream of OEAP, it can be a lot of co-op, it can be some cooperative education, where they're actually working with a skilled tradesperson in our community, developing the skills and knowledge to be headed moving forward on that pathway. And what's so great about OEAP is it does allow students to earn co-op hours and hours toward their apprenticeship before they've even graduated from high school. We know that there is a real demand for the skilled trades. We have many baby boomers retiring now and certainly in the next few years, and that's creating lots of vacancy and availability for skilled trades opportunities in our communities. And diverse students can have a really fantastic experience in the skilled trades, high-paying careers. Often we've seen representation being historically limited, but as Tracy has already alluded to, there are more and more programs, supports, and resources available to ensure that that diversity flourishes in this post-secondary pathway as well. And I wanted to highlight just a couple of key organizations and opportunities again that can further open doors to students who may be experiencing or interested in skilled trades and apprenticeship. The Indigenous Skilled Employment Apprenticeship and Development Organization really focuses on Indigenous skills, employment, apprenticeship, and development that supports the economic well-being of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. As Tracy had mentioned already, IBEW or Electrical Union, as well as Brick and Mason, offer some really fantastic pre-apprenticeship opportunities through this organization. And they provide many different supports to Indigenous students going into the trades to overcome barriers. Just a couple examples include subsidized driver's training for new drivers so that they have a vehicle and, of course, a license to be able to get to various workplace sites that are, of course, a big part of being in the skilled trades. There's also continuing relationship building with skilled trades unions and community partners. And I just included the link to their website there so that you have an opportunity to explore more if a skilled trades pathway is something that you or your student might be exploring right now. Other things including community benefit agreements. So a variety of different large energy, construction, and infrastructure projects now include these community benefit agreements with Indigenous nations. And these agreements often require contractors and incentivize them to give opportunities to Indigenous apprentices, tradespeople, and subcontractors, again, to provide those opportunities to explore this fantastic pathway. They also support long-term employment pathways, not just sort of short-term employment opportunities. And there are many different opportunities emerging, and you'll see a number of the industries listed there. Again, sorry, that's a long URL, I know, but lots of different relationships and agreements that are forming through these CBAs. So wanted you to be aware of that as well. And as another piece, Skills Ontario is a really important organization that partners with school boards to promote skilled trades and technology learning in all of our students. And I just wanted to highlight a inclusivity series that they have run over the last, I think it's been about 2 years, where they have featured a variety of diverse speakers who are having fantastic success in the skilled trades, talking a little bit about their journey into the trades, as well as their experiences as a skilled tradesperson. Again, I've provided the link there. There's 10 episodes, really interesting speakers that are featured there. That can be a real source of inspiration for our students as they hear about a variety of pathways and experiences that have led people to the trades. So wanted to highlight that as well. Just at this point, wanted to pause for a minute just to remind our audience that we do have our link and our QR code to our question form again. So if you may have joined us late, just wanted to ensure that you knew how to access that as we move forward in the presentation. And at this point, I'd like to welcome Rebecca and Kayla, who are here from McMaster University, to talk a little bit more about the support services for students that they work to support and create at McMaster. So I'll pass it over to them.
Thank you, Lisa. Ani Bojo, hello. My name is Rebecca Sellis, and I am the Indigenous Transition Program Coordinator from Indigenous Student Services at McMaster University. I am Anishinaabe and a member of Nipissing First Nation with Acadian ancestry. Joining me this evening is my colleague, Kayla Sunshine. Next slide. Next slide. Perfect, thank you. So we are excited to introduce you to McMaster University. McMaster is known for its strong academic programs, innovative research, and welcoming community. For Indigenous and Black students, we have dedicated supports for Indigenous Student Services and the Black Student Success Center. So this evening, we will provide you with some information about admissions and important dates, along with pathways and Indigenous student support services, as well as some funding information. Sorry. Next slide, please. So through McMaster, you can find available on our website our view book, and our view books contain the information regarding minimum grade averages, your program prerequisites. Some programs require supplemental applications. So programs like health sciences require some additional information in your application. There are Indigenous specific pathways for some of our programs, which I will touch upon. And then again, our 2026 view book is available on our website for downloading. You can also visit any of our program sites for specific information. We do have some Indigenous pathway programs available through Six Nations Polytechnic, Mohawk College, and Lambton College. So those pathways, you would do some like a 2-year program at Mohawk College, for example, in their general arts sci pathway. And then you can come to McMaster for 2 years, and that would give you an honors Indigenous bachelor's. Next slide. So we do have a facilitated admissions process for self-identifying Indigenous students. It's health sciences specific, and it's for applicants with Indigenous North American ancestry. So it's First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. You must complete the self-identification application in addition to the OUAC and supplemental applications that are required. Other pathways for the facilitated admissions process include the Bachelor of Social Work. There is an Indigenous student pathway. There are reserved seats for Indigenous applicants, and you would apply for the BSW program in your first year of your undergrad studies at McMaster. Next slide. So some of our community partners at McMaster include Indigenous Student Services, Indigenous Studies Department, the Indigenous Health Learning Lodge, and McMaster Indigenous Research Institute. Next slide. And I just want to take a moment to introduce our wonderful Indigenous Student Services team. So we are very fortunate to have an Indigenous wellness counselor who's dedicated in our space on campus, Sarah Thorne. Myself again, my name is Rebecca Sellis. I am the Transition Program Coordinator. Kayla Sunshine, Indigenous Financial Aid Specialist. And typically Emily would be here this evening to provide further information regarding the admissions process. However, she is on leave right now. Next slide. Thank you. So just a quick overview of our supports and services. Again, we provide support throughout your entire application process. So any questions regarding your OUAC application, program requirements, application support, we're here to be able to walk through that process with you. Once you've decided you would like to come to McMaster and you receive an offer of admissions, that's kind of where my role picks up. So I would help with transition supports, if you're looking at joining in residence, any degree planning or questions you might have selecting your courses. This can often be overwhelming. We could sit down and do some course planning. I also deliver the transition program, which I'll talk about in just a moment. I also deliver academic workshops in our space. I offer tutoring support, and I can certainly help with advocating on behalf of our Indigenous students. We are also very fortunate to have quite a bit of social and cultural programming in our department. Last week, we had our Haudenosaunee Social. We have movie nights, cooking workshops with elders, Indigenous crafts and beading, and we have an Indigenous graduation celebration for graduating Indigenous students. We also offer a nutritional program in our space. We are very fortunate to have a wonderful kitchen. We have soup on Tuesdays. We provide snacks and meal support for our students. Once again, we have a dedicated Indigenous counselor in our department. She offers trauma-informed counseling, weekly sharing circles. She also oversees our Elder in Residence program, so whether that's through workshops or one-to-one support. And we have traditional medicines available for students as well. And then for financial support, we can help with scholarships, bursaries, awards, financial literacy support, and advocacy. We have work study opportunities and emergency aid, which Kayla will speak to in a moment. Next slide. So the Gandadaiwanias Indigenous Student Transition Program is very unique at McMaster. At the beginning of the presentation this evening, there was some information about some transition supports. These often look like a bridging program between high school and university. At McMaster, our transition program is a 2-week program at the end of the summer. So the last 2 weeks of August. So this is where we can help students feel comfortable coming to McMaster. They get familiar with campus, they get connected with supports early, and it really helps to build that community, make friends, know where you're going on campus. We can also help with, again, this is where we would do extra last minute course planning because you're about to start in September. And students receive a $500 bursary for attending this 2-week program. There's also an early residence move-in option. So if you are staying in residence, we can get you connected with moving in early so that you're already on campus for the 2-week program as well. And best of all, it's free for students to participate. There's no fee to apply. You just need to self-identify as a First Nations, Métis, or Inuit student. Next slide. So now we have a fall course as well, which really helps students to be able to build those academic skills, understand research, writing. Time management is usually a barrier for students as well. There's ongoing academic support. We also have a mentorship program that runs alongside of the transition program. So we have mentors working one-on-one in the class with the students as well. We have a cultural learning piece that's interwoven deeply into the program as well. So we have Métis art, a lot of Indigenous crafts. We have elders who come in, there's medicine teachings. And the best part of this is while you're working towards your degree, this counts as an elective course. So it is actually applying to your degree as well. Next slide. And now I'm going to hand our presentation over to Kayla.
Hello, my name is Kayla Sunshine. I am Cree from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, and I am the Indigenous Financial Aid Specialist at McMaster University. So today I'm going to be covering kind of all the different financial options that you can apply for, as well as all the services that I offer at Indigenous Student Services. So some of the finances options to finance your education would be OSAP, and another option would be the Post-Secondary Student Support Program, otherwise known as band funding. the Post-Secondary Education Financial Assistance Program through the Métis Nation of Ontario, all kinds of different scholarships, bursaries, awards, internal to McMaster, and also external awards, the work study program, and then also there are student loans, lines of credit, and bank loans. Next slide. So what are scholarships and bursaries? Scholarships, also called awards, are funding that's awarded based on your academic and extra achievements. Some are automatically awarded based on grades, and others require an application. Bursaries are funding provided by McMaster based solely on financial need. In most cases, information from your OSAP application is used to determine your financial need, but some students who don't receive OSAP may still apply for a bursary. If you do not wish to apply for OSAP, we do have another way to show that you are in financial need. Both are non-repayable funding, which means you do not have to pay them back. Next slide. So we have a couple of different kinds of awards. So there would be entrance awards. Entrance awards are awards for incoming students based on merits like academics, community involvement, or leadership. Most are automatically granted to students entering level 1 of any undergraduate program that meets academic criteria. Entrance scholarships for 2026-27 will be available November 1st, 2025. So they are already available to apply for. In-course awards. In-course awards are for full-time and part-time undergraduate students not in their graduating year. These are available by application on AwardSpring, which I will talk about more in a moment. Awarded for outstanding academic achievement, extra involvement, or a combination of both. And then there are some specialty awards. These scholarships have a different timeline than the rest of McMaster's in-course scholarships. So something like the Marjorie Anderson Award. Next slide. So this process is for the ancestry verification. So a lot of our Indigenous specific awards, you will have to go through the ancestry verification. So this was implemented in 2024 through our Indigenous Education Council, and this will be available through Mosaic, titled Ancestry Verification, and you only have to do it once in your academic career. You will upload something, say like your status card or M&O card, and that will follow you for the rest of your academic career. It's used to verify identification for scenarios such as facilitated admissions, funding, and more. Next slide. So we do have a new bursary called They're Making a Path for Us. So this bursary is funded by McMaster University to support Indigenous students from all Haudenosaunee and Mississauga nations. Funding will be tailored to meet individual need by addressing funding gaps in tuition costs, as well as the cost of living, so expenses such as housing, childcare, transportation, medical expenses, clothing, food. So it's based off of about $32,000 as the average living income for Hamilton. And so we kind of factor in any kind of band funding, any kind of OSAP, if there's any really large scholarships that are over 10,000, and then any kind of gaps in the funding you would receive. So for say students who maybe don't get band funding because there is no more available, because that's the case in some communities, we would take that into consideration and you would get a bigger bursary. So again, to be eligible, it's all Haudenosaunee or Mississauga nations, demonstrate financial need, and this will be typically done through viewing your OSAP application, and then complete and submit the application by the deadline. So for this upcoming semester in January, it'd be the end of January. So for fall of 2026, the deadline would be the end of September. Next slide. So we also have a really great entrance scholarship, and the deadline for this one is April 30th, 2026. And so this is the Marjorie Anderson Financial Award for Indigenous Students. This award was established in 2017 in honor of Marjorie Anderson, Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, who was the first Indigenous woman to graduate from McMaster. So the value for this is $80,000. So it would be $20,000 per year that you're attending McMaster University. So to be eligible for this award, you either need to be Inuit First Nations from Six Nations of the Grand River or Mississauga of the Credit. and it's open to students entering McMaster at any level of their undergraduate. And for this one, you'll have to be verified through McMaster's Indigenous ancestry verification process. And the criteria is you have a minimum of 75% and demonstrate financial need, and just an essay about your leadership, your involvement in the community, and then as well as 2 reference letters. Next slide. So if anyone wants to take a picture of this, or they can contact me more about this, is all of our kind of information for all aid and awards at McMaster. So there's some information there about entrance awards and the important deadlines. So the entrance awards, this will be February 19th, 2025. So I would recommend as soon as you are applying to McMaster, you have your login information to apply. This will be automatic. It'll match you based off of what you're putting in your application, whereas like the Marjorie Anderson is a separate application. General bursaries, the deadline would be typically mid-January. This is for all students having any financial need. So even $1 of financial need, you would do a general application, and then you're assessed to a pool of different bursaries. So most of the time, if you're in financial need, you will receive some form of money. And we also have a different number of in-course awards. So these are based off of like merit and academic based. And those ones will kind of expire in like April to apply for. And then all the external funding sources, so band funding, these kind of all vary. Like for GRIPSIO, so for students coming from 6 nations, that deadline is May 1st. To apply for M&O funding, that opens March 1st, and the deadline is very strict, is May 1st. Inspire, it's throughout the school year, so that'll be August 1st, November 1st, and February 1st, as well as we have some work study opportunities. So we have work study students working in our center currently throughout their studies, as well as the summer we hire students full-time, and then we also have ambassadors and mentor positions for the transition program as well. Next slide. So this is Funds Finder. This is where you can find all of the eligible awards that McMaster's offer. So you can put your Indigenous, and it'll show all eligible awards that you can apply for. Next slide. And this is Award Spring. So this is where you would apply for all the entrance awards. And again, deadline is February 19th. Next slide. So important reminders to keep track of all important deadlines. Recommended to apply for OSAP is June 30th. Band funding, it varies, but vast majority are early to late spring. And if you are being sponsored by your First Nation, you would send these sponsorship letters to macpay@mcmaster.ca. And do not hesitate to reach out for support for anything financial. Next slide. And this is all of our social media. So if you want to know more about what we're doing, look at our different events that we have. We just had ribbon hoodies, which is really amazing. You can reach out to these sites on our socials.
Great. Thank you so much, Kayla and Rebecca, for giving us such an extensive overview of all of the supports available for Indigenous students at McMaster. We really appreciate it. At this time, wanting to be representative of the variety of post-secondary institutions that our students can certainly enjoy in Ontario and beyond, we want to welcome Holly Laforme, who's here from Sheridan, to talk more about support services in the Ontario college system. So I'll pass it over to you, Holly.
Miigwech, Lisa. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Ani bonjour, everyone. My name is Holly Laforme. I'm here tonight to share with you some different resources and understanding of Indigenous supports in the college system, but I am representing Sheridan. So we can go into the next slide. Awesome. So Indigenous student success in the Ontario college system has some funding initiatives through the government that aim to provide culturally appropriate supports such as elders in residence, Indigenous student centers, targeted recruitment and retention efforts, and community partnership connections for Indigenous students. So, you know, every school encourages their First Nations, Métis, and Inuit students of Turtle Island or North America to self-identify when they're applying. this really just helps schools, one, kind of be aware of what students are Indigenous, and we can, that way we can send information via email or your student portals to provide you these supports, let you know what bursaries exist, let you know what's going on in the centers, and just kind of helps bring community together. So students can self-identify on their applications through Ontario College Applications, or OCAS, but are generally also required to provide additional declarations directly to the college of their choice. So this is usually accessible through the school website or internal student portals, but sometimes will be emailed out. I know with our process, our admissions will directly contact each student and send them the self-ID information. So we can go to the next slide. Perfect. So what these Indigenous student supports look like for colleges in Ontario and across the nation are things like Indigenous student centers. So these are designated rooms or spaces on campuses with advisors like myself to provide safe and welcoming environments for our students. So some of the support services can look like us assisting students for pre-arrival. So some colleges have programs similar to McMaster's, where we support like an early student entry, so that they can go take an extra tour of campuses, get comfortable with classes, learn where facilities are, residence, bookstore, anything that you might need to know, just to help create a more welcoming and comfortable environment before kind of all the other students arrive. We provide things like advocacy, as well as academic and career planning, bursary and financial aid guidance, community inclusivity, culturally relevant programs and events, and access to traditional medicines, teachings, and smudging spaces. So some of what this might look like is, I know Sheridan specifically, we had our winter feast with the students just last night. So we hosted a dream catcher making workshop, and we had a big meal catered for all of the students that signed up to come out. We also do monthly soup days for students, just to kind of drop in, grab some food, and kind of spend time with their peers, as well as some of our support staff in the offices. We really just, I think the main goal of having these centers is to have spaces where Indigenous students can find and create community within their schools. So I think it's a really, really amazing space that students get to enjoy. But another great resource that most colleges have are elders and residents. So these are usually knowledgeable and respected Indigenous elders from the community that the school's like kind of located in. And these elders come in and visit to provide additional guidance and support to students, as well as teaching cultural practices, really just sharing the wisdom that they have. This can provide a different level of comfort for students, especially when you're away from home. It can be really, really nice to just have this connection. And unfortunately, our Sheridan's elder and resident passed away earlier this year, so we currently do not have one. But the elders that do work with schools, they dedicate a lot of time to come out and see the students in person. So it's just a really, really nice service that we're able to provide. And then another one that's really, really important is the financial supports. I know McMaster was able to touch on a lot of this, is quite similar. So a lot of colleges have entrance awards. They'll have college-specific bursaries and scholarships. So these will look different at each school, as well as the program-specific awards. And then we have pretty standard the external funding that can be OSAP band funded, any other scholarships and bursaries that you might find on different search engines that are external to the school. Some of the targeted recruitment initiatives that the colleges have, I know Sheridan specifically enhances this, but we have proactive admissions policies or pathways where designated seats are held for qualified Indigenous students who self-identify. So these applicants still have to meet minimum program requirements and deadlines for this consideration, but ultimately, I know at Sheridan we have about 24 programs that hold 2 to 6 seats per round of admission for self-identifying Indigenous students. Again, the verification process kind of looks different for each school because this is still not a standardized policy or procedure. So we're kind of still working towards that as we're shifting into kind of like a new era. However, right now it's still at self-identifying, and any student that makes it known that that is the admission process they'd like to follow can be considered for this policy or pathway. So those are some of the standard supports that are offered for the college system. You can go into the next slide, Lisa, but I just want to thank you for having me out tonight. And if you have any questions, I have some of my information here for anyone to reach out afterwards. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Holly, for providing that overview of the Ontario college system, the supports that are offered, and of course, some specific supports offered for Indigenous students at Sheridan. Thank you. And so now moving into the last part of our presentation, we wanted to highlight some key scholarships, awards, and funding available for students. And so I will pass it over to my colleagues to talk a little bit about some of these very prestigious awards.
So we wanted to highlight 3 of the most high impact scholarships in Ontario and Canada. We have the Loran Scholar for students ready to embrace the challenge of leaving the world better than they found it. We have the Schulich Leader Scholarships for students who are going into STEM programs across Canada. And then there's also the TD Scholarship for Community Leadership. And this one isn't necessarily marks-based, but it is really about contributions to community. And I just wanted to highlight the Ontario University's info scholarship page. If you go to ouinfo.ca, you can take a look at all of the scholarships available to apply to in Ontario. And you can also toggle, there's an option for equity seeking groups, as well as a separate toggle for Indigenous students for these applications. We actually had some students in the board who were awarded with these scholarships this past school year. So I'll go to the next slide. So we had 2 students who were awarded the Schulich Leader Scholarships. Dia and Heidi, who were at Garth Webb and Iroquois Ridge, and they are now in their first year of university, and they both received this incredible scholarship, so we're very happy for them. And we'll go over to the next slide. We have a Loran Scholar in the board.
Yeah, our very own Charlotte Balduke, who was a student at Aldershot High School, and she is also in her first year of university, and she was one of 36 students who won the Loran Scholarship last year. So very proud of her. And then there's a lot of questions about OSAP funding that I'm seeing coming through. So wanted to take a moment to really talk about that. So OSAP is usually the first place I recommend going to get a very fast idea of funds that it will give you. I do recommend using the estimator first, and you can Google OSAP estimator, and it helps you become familiar with the questions before you're completing the actual application. You can't use the estimator yet for September 2026 until this spring, but you can put in September 2025, and it allows you to choose different program options as well. And it will give you a result like the one that you see above. And the grants and the loans are separated. So in this example, the grants are in green and the loans are in blue. You do not have to accept the loans. A lot of people ask that question. You do not have to accept that. You can just take the grant money, which does not have to be paid back. If you choose to take the loan money, once your program is finished, you have to start repaying the loan portion, but it doesn't start accumulating interest until your program is complete and you leave school. The application will ask you if you are Indigenous, and it will exempt you from the $3,600 student contribution. You will be required to provide proof of Indigenous identity, and accepted documents include quite a wide variety of things. And if you don't have one of those standard things like status card, you may be able to submit a letter from an Indigenous organization or friendship center. It will also ask questions for everyone about whether you've been a ward of children's aid or child welfare at any point in time. It doesn't have to be current. And again, that will waive that $3,600 contribution. But you can't be a current recipient of the Ready, Set, Go program. Another question that it does ask you is if you have a permanent disability, and you can indicate that in your OSAP funding profile and submit a disability verification form, which has to be completed by your doctor or a healthcare provider. But permanent disabilities encompass a really wide variety of things, including learning disabilities, ADHD, and generalized anxiety disorder, just to name a few. But it is really something to look at and determine whether that's something that you want to choose on your application. And then we have some scholarships and bursaries. There's the Indigenous Bursaries search tool that is on the Indigenous Services Canada website. And it will list all of the bursaries that are available for Indigenous students. So that is really, really a great tool. Jillian already mentioned the Ontario University's info scholarship page, I think. We have Inspire, which has been mentioned tonight, Dreamcatcher, which has been mentioned tonight as well, and the Métis Student Bursary Program with funding from the Métis Nation of Ontario for Métis students who are enrolled in post-secondary. Next slide, please, Lisa. Oh, and this is me. Feel free to take a picture of this, contact me. I will do my best to reply promptly. I know this is a lot of information that's been presented, but you can also contact our department through hdsb.ca. We want to support the goals of every student and family so they can use their gifts in this world. Next slide.
And in terms of reaching out to the Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Education Department, we work with educators in schools to make sure that this work is happening everywhere. So if you reach out to your guidance teacher, student success teacher, or grad coach, they can connect you with our team or with the appropriate resources that can support your needs.
Great. Thank you so much to all of our presenters this evening. As Tracy said, that was a lot of information, but we hope really helpful information and a little bit of light being shed into resources and supports that you may or may not have been aware of already. I recognize that we're a little over time, so we're just going to take a few questions. Thank you to those that have submitted questions already. I'm going to pitch this first question over to our reps from Sheridan and McMaster. We've had a question asking, and I know it's a fairly broad question, so thank you for answering it to the best of your ability for your institution. But we have someone asking about what specific opportunities, resources, and equity-focused initiatives are provided to ensure that Indigenous, Black, racialized, and 2S and LGBTQ+ students have fair access to sports programs, leadership, extracurriculars, pathways to athletic scholarships, and so on. So I know that's a big question, pretty broad, and maybe there's an opportunity to talk a little bit about where someone who might be seeking specific information can go with your institution. So Rebecca, will you start? Thank you.
Yes, sure. So McMaster is very fortunate that we have some excellent student groups across campus. We have over 300 student clubs, but we have specific Indigenous student clubs as well. For example, we have our Indigenous Student Athletic Council, and they were just in partnership with a new launch of the McMaster Marauder logo. So a portion of the proceeds from the merch from the logo is going to support Indigenous athletes specifically. Across that, we also have other initiatives, again, the support for Indigenous students through Indigenous Student Services. There's also some bursaries and awards, again, that Kayla had mentioned specifically for Indigenous students that could also help support that for fair equity, along with our FIAP program. So the self-identifying of Indigenous ancestry.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. And Holly, did you want to speak on behalf of Sheridan?
For sure. That's a great question. I know myself, being very interested in athletics as well, this is something I looked for when I was applying and going to post-secondary school. I think the benefit of having equitable supports is having kind of people like myself in recruitment roles or specific admission advisors who you can connect with one-on-one, and they will ultimately give you all the information that you need, because each student and each pathway and each story is different. But I would say just reaching out to those supports that are, catered to you and your background, and then setting up those one-on-one times to meet and chat, and making sure that you're staying on top of your emails. You're reaching out and you're making the effort to make those connections, and then the people in those positions are going to help you get all the way through, whether that's for athletics, whether that's for theater, whether that's for the arts, whatever direction you're going in. I think that one-on-one support is a phenomenal benefit to racialized groups. So that would be my advice.
Great. Thank you so much. And we've got time to squeeze in one more question, and this one is going to go over to Tracy and Jillian. So we have a viewer asking about, for both of your teams, how is it possible to have someone from your team come to their child's school to come and work with them around questions, wonderings about pathway planning, things they're unsure of? We have a specific example here about, questions about marks and admissions, wondering about, who's accessible in the school system linked to your teams that can help to support a student. Tracy, did you want to start?
Sure. You can contact the, for Indigenous Rights and Education, you can contact our department, or you can contact me directly. I do meet with students and I work with the school teams to make sure that the students get all of the answers to their questions, regardless of what they might be. So we provide a really comprehensive wraparound support for students. Jillian?
In terms of our department, like I said before, we're doing a lot of work in schools with staff. So in terms of working with students, we would provide educators in schools with the tools that they need to be doing this work with their students, and also to connect educators with the advocates that exist in the community to come in and work with you as an advocate and a partner with you and your families. So that's where we kind of step in. So if you reach out, like I said, to your guidance teacher, your student success teacher, or even your homeroom teacher, they can connect with us and make sure that that all that support is there.
Fantastic. And that would be in combination with the grad coaches as well that are available in a number of our high schools, who are such valuable assets to all of our school teams. So thank you. I wish that we had more time. There's so much to talk about. So I really want to thank Tracy and Jillian, who are here from our central teams, Indigenous Rights and Education, as well as Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Education, Rebecca and Kayla from McMaster, and Holly from Sheridan. Again, I feel like we just sort of hit the tip of the iceberg on all there is to discuss here, but we really hope that the session has been informative and helpful and has led you to some next steps. And please remember again that our schools are a wonderful resource, and happy to support and or connect to other community or board-based supports when needed to ensure that the individual needs of your student are being met on their post-secondary journey. So with that, thank you to all of our viewers. We wish you a great night, and we hope you join us for our next session in January. More information to come in the new year. Have a great night.